So up next, we've got a guy who's making his Viper debut and his release debut. The main man in question is Mr. Aymen Valentino.
Hello, hello. Thank you very much for having me, guys.
Thanks for being here.
Oh, it's absolute pleasure. Absolute pleasure.
Excellent. And it's an absolute pleasure to be telling this story. You know, anybody's debut is a great milestone, really, at the start of a creative career. But to have your debut on an album like this, surrounded by lots of great peers on Viper, that's a pretty strong statement to be making, Mr. Valentino.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, first and foremost, I feel quite grateful and like humbled to be in a position, you know, like I've almost feel like I've just woken up and then here I am just getting asked these questions. So it's a very positive start for myself, and I'm very grateful that Brendan's just opened the door and let it all happen.
Brilliant. It's a positive start, but obviously nothing happens overnight. Nothing just happens like that. A lot of hard work has gone into this. You clearly know what you're doing in the studio, so you've been working up to this for quite a while, I'd imagine.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I've outside of this sort of music world, I run a video production company, and I've always just shot video content. The exact same time, parallel, I've produced music. Literally, they started at the same time. And I think it's got to the point where my music is far more, I'm far more passionate, really, to make the tunes and just to have people enjoy the music. So it's been a bit of a journey to get to the just drum and bass sort of this world focused, but it's been a fun one.
Brilliant, but it must have been quite inspiring for you then as well, while you're shooting videos, working with people like Futurebound, and you know, working on videos and things like that, and in the music, you've been surrounded by these people, so that must have been an inspiration. You probably picked up lots of interesting tips and stuff. Big time.
Yeah, one of the sort of key intro points to the drum and bass world was through a music festival called Innovation. They obviously shoot. They're So I used to shoot all their content there, but I would be present amongst all the live shows, everything. I'd have to be amongst the crowd and the DJs and conducting interviews. And for me, that was like absolute like quality, just because I would, one, learn so much, like just watching the DJs perform, and two, it was just being involved in that world. To me, felt like, I don't know, I guess I was just more and more drawn to move into the music side of things. That's probably one of the key intro points. Then I met Steve Fantasy, SAS, and then he really was the sort of connect to send my music to Brendan, who was sort of opened his arms and welcomed me in.
Right, okay, so Fantasy actually sent your music over to Brendan then, really?
That was initially, the sort of connect in the situation, which I was sort of blessed for. I mean, me and Fans have actually shot quite a bit of stuff together, and then he said, "Oh, I know exactly who's going to love this. Like, there is the man." I was like, "Who? You know?" Like, tell me. He said, "Oh, Futurebound. Trust me, he's gonna love it." So he sent it over, and then I didn't really hear from you, Brendan. Actually,
oh
no. No.
How long?
No, in all fairness, I think I had my expectations way too high. for in all fairness, you were a busy man at the time as well. You're performing, so I got maybe a couple weeks, 3 weeks or something like that, and then
that's good. That's good.
Well, yeah. We'll see.
I think that's a lesson, though, for a lot of young artists who expect things to happen. And you do. I mean, even now, 20 years as a freelance writer, once you send something out, you expect instant reactions off it, and you don't. And even like that, I think that's a lesson for any aspiring artist who wants to be in your position, making their debut on Viper and stuff like that, is that these things take time, that sometimes, like you say, a label boss has got a lot of things on their plates, and sometimes 6 months. 6 months is a reasonable time to get back,
wow.
I think.
Yeah, okay. Well, in all honesty, it could have taken 6 years, but I was just fully focused on the situation. I just knew that if you did get back, then it would be positive. Fantasy said, look, if Brendan's going to tell you if he likes it or not, and you were super honest, you called me up and you're like, look, mate, I love the track sort of thing. And honestly, I love the vibe. It's very Viper. It's got a very Viper feel to it. And we, from that point, actually, we worked a lot on developing the song, developing the track, getting it to where it is now.
Brilliant. And I mean, talking about how you've got to where you are now, I mean, with a name like Aymen, you're meant to be making drum and bass.
The Aymen break.
Yeah.
The infamous Aymen break, I know.
But I mean, you have dabbled in a lot of other styles as well to get here. And I think that's really important for any artist when they're coming through, is to try lots of other styles and not just come from the one pool and just be tapping into that one pot of resources and inspirations. You come from a lot of other musical backgrounds, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I used to produce a lot of sort of half-tempo-y, bonobo style stuff as well. A lot of quite live instruments and that sort of vibe. And then it moved to the house bass line, which really was when I started taking Aymen Valentino quite seriously. I'd send my tracks to just mostly friends and a couple of artists whilst I was, working with them. They were like, what do you think of this, And they were like, mate, it's actually really good. You should really pursue it. And then I was like, oh, I should actually sort of go back to my roots. I started off as a jungle head, listening to like Shy FX and like Dillinger and all that sort of stuff. And I just thought, let's just take it back and just go in, because I've got the passion, and I don't know why I wouldn't pursue it.
Yeah, brilliant. Because you have, I mean, while you've been kind of dabbling and experimenting, you've been making a lot of harder styles, really, haven't you? And this is now, the one on the album now is, you're finding your sound, really, aren't you?
100%. I think that's literally the exact statement, is I am finding my sound. Brendan always, aka Futurebound, the head honcho, he's always just sort of reminding me that this is the time where I'm really, I have to just hone in and find the sound and just nail it at this point. It's so early that I'm not putting too much pressure on it. I'm just going with what feels right at the time. And like with a bit of guidance, I'm sure that we can get there.
Yeah, well, going back to what we were talking about before, Dave, with like getting to know artists and kind of, are they in it for the long haul? I mean, Aymen was one of those guys who we spoke a number of times, and I could tell that, his background, he'd been into it for a while. He was starting to treat production in the music game like seriously now, do you know what I mean? And I was saying to him, don't expect a quick fix. You're still going to take a little bit of time finding your sound now, and that's what everyone's got to do. I think a lot of people, the problem with a lot of new producers is they want it here and now, and you look at anyone in the scene who's made it, myself, Matrix, or I'm not saying that we've made it, but Andy Sieve and all these people, it's been a long road, and you got to keep building and keep open to learning new stuff, you know what I mean? But Aymen's definitely in it for the long haul. Big time, yeah. I think you have definitely sort of drilled that aim in me. But and to be honest with you, I think it's clear, if you just look at people's track record, it takes a long time to build a reputation. Anything that needs to be pure and true does take a long time to build. Yeah. So
I think it was Scream did a tweet recently where he was saying your career does not start until you're 10 years into it. That's when you've had your buzz, you've had your peaks, you've ridden some hype, you've recovered from it, might have had a second hype. That's when your career starts. Would you agree with that, actually?
Absolutely, yeah. The 10-year thing is spot on.
Cool. So, I mean, he's obviously given you some great mentorship. You've got to this position now. I've asking everybody in these interviews, what piece of what words of wisdom, what nugget of wisdom have you had from Futurebound, which has really stuck with you, that you might have in your head as a mantra when you're working on the next banger?
Make it sound good in mono. I actually laugh, but the truth is, when I sent you the first mix and I listen to it now, it is literally night and day. You not because of the mono or stereo, a lot more of sort of focus on just making it sound good in the mix. The content itself, the actual musicality of things, I feel can flow, but then the mix down, I have to work on it. Really what Brendan's doing is helping me get the mix down on point. And I'm just focusing in and trying to learn as much as I can. Like, it is a big world. When you open that DAW, there's a lot of plugins you can get. There's a lot of information, and you can just keep reeling it on. So it's just make it sound good in the club. That's it. Make it pump.
I think, the whole mix down thing, really, I was speaking with B Motion about this the other day and stuff when we were talking about like mix downs. It really should be an A to B sort of thing, a bit more of an easier process, but it's not. It's kind of like, it's there's many areas that you have to get right, and you listen to tracks from 10 years ago and 10 years before that, and it's like where it's coming from now, and the level at where it's at, it's incredible. It really is.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, even when I listen to your stuff as well, it sounds very real, thick, radio ready, world ready. Like it's stuff that, I sort of want to head towards. And if I can get it sounding as close to that as possible, then I'm a happy man.
Brilliant. Amen to that.
Yeah, I was waiting.
Brilliant. Awesome. What can people look forward to in 2020?
Oh man, 2020, exciting times. So I've just finished the music video. We shot a lot of it in Spain, and we shot a lot of it in the UK as well. It's probably the most heart and soul I've put into music videos, so we're excited to put that out. I don't know on which platforms that may be, but definitely somewhere that people can watch.
That's great. So you've made your own video for your own debut on Viper. I think, like new artists now do have to be multi-skilled really in terms
100%.
of kind of, the media skills and things like that. It's not just about being able to be a studio hermit. You've kind of got that in place already, really, haven't you?
Yeah, no, definitely. I think that definitely speeds it up. It makes it a lot more efficient, and it means that as soon as I've got the idea, I can just go ahead and do it, just execute, make sure I get the right people in the right place, and just make sure it gets smashed out. So yeah, it's one less thing to worry about. It means that the product can be experienced as quicker. It cuts out a middle person.
Brilliant. I'm looking forward to experiencing more Aymen Valentino very soon, man. Thank you very much for joining us. Thank you.